Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this Tuesday evening, March 26th, for our Personnel Committee meeting. We're going to get started. We're going to start with Ms. Gardner. Good evening, and thank you.
Good evening. Let me just share my screen here. Let's see if I get this. Okay. So thank you for joining me this evening. Just a couple of things that I'm going to discuss tonight. In the meeting agenda, if you click on the link, you'll see the topics for tonight's discussion, vacancies and updates there, hiring fairs, the administrative procedures for hiring, some enhancements to the board agenda, and verification of prior experience for new teachers. Let's see, go back. Okay, so you can see here our vacancies. Our highest number of vacancies are in the following areas. There's 19 instructional assistants, 8 special education teachers, 5 school safety officers, and 3 nurses, either certified or staff nurse. To try and recruit for those non-instructional positions, the instructional assistants and the school safety officers, we visited CareerLink in Chester this time. If you remember, the last time we met, I mentioned that we were going to be working with CareerLink. The first one was in media. That did not yield great result. And the one that we did on March 19th at CareerLink in Chester, we had a little bit more success, however, still not what we thought we would have. We got some resumes, but those candidates were interested in office work, like the building secretaries, not necessarily instructional assistants or the school safety officers. So we weren't as successful as we had hoped there. But we went to the DCIU education fair last week on the 20th. So 125 candidates registered in advance for the fair, but only 90 candidates attended. And of that 90, we collected 41 resumes. And these are for teachers. Most of the participants at this fair were student teachers from West Chester University. It's a high number of turnout for student teachers. We collected their resume. We've been in touch with them, and we are going to invite them to our hiring fair on May 9th. As you know, we're doing a hiring fair, which is going to be held at Penwood High School on May 9th. That's going to be from 4 to 7 p.m. And we're going to be staffing for all positions, especially for teachers. There will be on-the-spot interviews, and we will be giving intent to hire letters. So we are hoping that we will have 95% of our vacancies filled by the time the school year ends, June 30th. Principals can go on vacation knowing that they will have their vacancies staffed for September. That is our hope. But we are working diligently to have this come together. Not only will we be looking for teachers, we've also invited STS to come to the fairs. We will always need substitute teachers. So we've invited them. We've invited First Student for bus drivers. And we will have an area for those that are interested in becoming school safety officers. So that department, Gary Ricards, is going to be heading that up with the lead SSOs to get candidates for those positions. So we're actively beating the bushes and scouring for new employees and new talent in the district. Ms. Ivy, do you have any questions on anything thus far?
No, I do not, Ms. Gardner. Thank you. Does anyone else from the audience? Okay, no, we can continue, Ms. Gardner. Thank you.
Okay. So as we begin the hiring season, I just wanted to remind everyone that we are following the administrative procedures for hiring, and there are procedures for administrative staff, for support staff, and for teachers. Again, if you click on the links in the presentation, you'll be able to see the procedures. They're outlined starting from the posting to the interviews to when the candidate is presented to the board for approval to hire. It's a panel interview. The panel always consists of the principal and the assistant principal, and depending upon the position, the panel may also include staff members, community members, parents, and a board member, but that's the procedure that we follow. Any questions on that? The last item, or second to the last item, there are some enhancements that I'd like to make with regard to agenda items, board agenda items for business meetings. So to add, currently everything is listed in the agenda. It's like this flowing document, as you know, and it's pages upon pages upon pages. What I'd like to do is to add links to the personnel items where you could click on the link and you'd be able to see the information. The content remains the same. Nothing changes with the content. It's just that it is not page after page after page in the agenda. The layout is going to be more uniform and visually appealing. What we found is when we enter the information into board docs, it does not necessarily translate to the printed version, what it looks like in print, if that makes sense. It's not always aligned in margins and it's not always visually appealing. But if there are links in the document, the agenda will be more uniform and visually appealing, and the pages will be shortened. The overall number of pages in the agenda will be shortened, and it will be easier to follow. The other enhancement that I'd like to make is to use just employee ID numbers for those on medical leave. And that is just to provide the employees some privacy as they convalesce. I have received phone calls from random employees asking about someone who's on sick leave, and I had to, of course, let them know that it was not appropriate for them to be making that call. But with having to approve leaves, the employees still are placed on the agenda, but it's just their ID number and not their full name. So again, the content doesn't change. It's just not identified Tracy Gardner. It's Tracy Gardner, employee number 555.
Okay, Ms. Gardner, I see Ms. Hoff has her hand up, and then Ms. Hopkins.
Thank you, Ms. Ivory. I'm concerned about access if we have to look at our employment agenda electronically and don't have an option to look at it on paper, right? Because if we now have to click a link to see something and have it drop down, that means at the very least, the school board directors that are approving it that night in paper won't have access to what they're really approving to look down and see it. I mean, I hear you and understand why you want to do it, but I think it also doesn't allow someone without computer access to view our agenda. I would also wonder about 508 compliance, unfortunately.
Okay, and let me add this part. And what I didn't mention, we still print X number of agendas
Right.
for that night. So that would continue.
Oh, okay. Alright.
That part it just would not necessarily be as many, right? I mean, you'd have it available. We'd have some available for whoever comes in, but overall, the pages, if you're at home and you're printing, you're not printing 75 pages of an agenda. You would
No,
only,
I understand.
yeah, print
As long
that.
as
But
you have them in the room and for the school board directors.
yes, definitely
Yeah,
that would continue.
That's fine, thank you. Sorry if I
That would continue.
misunderstood.
No, I did not say that. So I did not make myself clear, and I apologize for that.
Thank you for clarifying that. And I see Ms. Hopkins had her hand up, but it looks like she just.
No, I didn't take it down. I thought you was getting ready to call me, so I took it down before I forgot.
Okay, yeah.
I just want to make sure that I'm hearing correctly, and I'm also want to make sure that I clearly understand. So the first thing is, so I'm glad didn't realize that we're doing I just feel, I guess, as a social worker, that people's privacy is just out there, and especially with them, someone being ill. I just really don't like people information out there. So I'm glad to hear that part. But then when we talk about personnel items and having to prove, we're already not given, I feel that we're not given enough time to really sit down and read and vet and blah, 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 blah. So are we given time to do the vetting with, now that we just have numbers? Are we, and maybe I might have missed that and I apologize, but are we given some kind of information so that we would have time to vet these things that we got to approve? And I think that was the same question Jennifer asked, but I just needed it in a more layman's term, because then she mentioned something about a 501c something fee, A, B, C. I don't know what was that all about. I know you'll get used to me, Miss Tracy. Yes.
Okay, so tell me, just so that I know, right now, and I'm speaking specifically about the ID numbers, because that is the first thing. So right now, when you get the agenda to view, to vet, how far in advance do you get it?
I want to say we get it like 2 days, like right before the weekend happens. And I know I'm not looking at nothing before the weekend.
Okay.
I mean, during the weekend. So we're really kind of sort of, I guess, in my mind, in my eyes, we're getting only 24 hours. And somebody, please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're correct. I believe we typically get it that Friday.
That Friday, right?
Okay, so with these enhancements that I am speaking of, please tell me again what the difference would be, just so that I know.
Okay, so the thing about the identification using numbers, for me, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. I'm just asking, and I may be coming off wrong. And again, somebody make sure that I'm wrong. I mean, I'm right. I just would really like to have more time to vet versus scrambling Monday, trying to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do Monday meeting. It just would really be much helpful if we could. And that's the little part I'm asking, is that if we could see if we can get it a little bit more earlier than we get this, like I said, 24. And Jennifer, this is where I need you. I think we used to get it a week ahead of time, and now I think we're just getting it 24 hours or on the weekend to review.
I don't know, but I understand and I can sympathize. We do get a lot of material heading at us.
Right.
So I guess it's a different request. that was triggered by, the agenda change, that we get a little bit more time to review.
Okay, so
Right.
is that though a request that needs to be made to Bob?
Mm, I don't know.
I believe
Or-
that, yeah, I think that's an overall board question. I think for the entire, for our board updates overall. So I definitely think that that would go to Bob as our board secretary.
Okay, so then here's the, like I said, Jennifer was mentioning some 5 something something dash something something.
I said
Um,
508 compliance, which is
Ah,
just accessibility, but
accessibility. Okay, so that's not what I was going to ask then. So then my question is, and I just lost it messing around. That's what I get. That's what I get. Never mind. It's gone and it won't come back. So you can go ahead and proceed. I'm sorry. Oh, yes, it
Okay.
came back. It came back. So
Yeah.
with the board docs. Now,
Mhm.
if somebody please refresh my memory, isn't this what we're supposed to use for the for these meetings? And I guess like Pennsylvania board, state board associations, regulations that we use. That's why we changed to this format and layout. So are we changing what that when we say changing the agenda layout, are we changing that?
No, no, what Ms. Gardner's proposing is it's gonna look the same, except, for example, when we go through our personnel,
Yeah,
you know how we might have 10
50,
different
11.
categories.
Yeah.
Instead of having to scroll down the 20 pages of employee information. So for C1, C2, you would see C1 with a hyperlink versus everything that falls under C1. And then you would go down to C2, another hyperlink.
Okay.
So that way you're not scrolling. You would just have to click on each link to find out the information under each category versus having to keep scrolling. So that just helps the readability, I believe, a little bit easier on the eye, and also saves paper, if you're printing it out, and then you just print out the links as needed.
Thank you. I really appreciate you um clarifying that for me. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Tracy.
You're welcome.
one more question.
Go ahead, Ms. Hoff.
Does the solicitor recommend that we use numbers for privacy? Or do we have to run this out to him before or after?
No, I've had conversation with him and he said that this is fine. There's no issue with it.
Okay, I'm just checking to see if we have any questions in our Q&A. There are no good questions. Okay, Ms. Gardner, you can proceed.
Okay. The last item is verification of prior experience. We had a discussion last night, an executive session, so I won't rehash that, but this is tied into some of that. So what I've been in this position for 9 months, and I've found that there is really no verification. There had not been any verification of years of teaching experience other than, excuse me, the employee saying so. So what I have developed is a form that candidates will get upon hiring when we make them the offer of employment. They're going to get a form that they'll need to complete that will be sent to their previous employer to verify their years of teaching experience. Until that can be verified, the candidate will start at step 1 of their educational level. So if they have a bachelor's, it'll be step 1 of the bachelor's, master's, whatever it is. And once the information is verified by their former employer or employers, then the salary will be adjusted to place them at the correct step. And it's going to be the employee's responsibility, the candidate's responsibility to provide the information from their former employer within the first 90 days of employment to receive the adjustment. This isn't something that we're going to be discussing 6, 8, 10 months after they've started. I'm on the wrong step, none of that. It is, you get this, you have to provide this information within the first 90 days. And if not, then your salary does not change at all. It puts the responsibility on the employee to make sure that their former employer verifies their years of teaching experience.
Ms. Gardner, I have a question. So when they do that, it would be retroactive from their date of hire once they
Yeah.
verify? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I believe I see Ms. Hoff. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, sorry. How is this different than the filling out the form to comply with the act? And I don't know the act other than by its name, don't pass the trash.
Right. So the difference is what you're talking about just says that I worked for XYZ school district and that I was not the subject of any misconduct.
Oh, okay.
What I am doing here is actually verifying that, yeah, you worked for XYZ school district and that you taught in this capacity for X number of years. And it's teaching experience. It's not, I was an SSO at XYZ school district. We don't give teaching experience for that, but it's a way to verify that, yes, Tracy Gardner was in the classroom for 5 years with XYZ school district.
Got it. Thank you.
Ms. Ivy, there's a hand raised.
Mr. Tong, thank you. Mr. Tong, you have the floor.
Thank you. Ms. Gardner, with this process, can't you verify some of this through like TIMS and PIMS and things like that?
I can verify through TIMS that they have an active cert, but it does not tell me that Tracy Gardner was in the classroom for X number of years
Okay,
teaching. I can verify the cert, but not that I was actually doing, or the candidate was actually doing the work of a teacher in the classroom.
understood. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I do not see any additional questions. Sorry, I do not see any additional questions in the chat or in the participants category.
Okay.
All right. Okay, with that, if there are no additional questions or concerns, thank you, Ms. Gardner, for that presentation. Thank you, everyone that joined us this evening. I look forward to our next Personnel Committee meeting. Enjoy the weather. I love your background with the nice sunset. Have a wonderful week, everyone,
Thank you.
and have a good one.
Bye-bye.